Dear students, welcome to third video on unit number 3. In this video, we'll try to understand the concept of measurement and scaling. So, let us try to understand what is measurement. Assigning numbers or some other symbols to characteristics or objects according to certain pre-specified rules is called as measurement. Let us try to understand what is scaling. Scaling is an extension of measurement. It is the generation of continuum on which measurement objects are located. Let us try to understand scaling with the help of an example. If we want to locate consumer according to the characteristic attitude towards Big Bazaar, we will have three extensions of measurement, that is unfavorable attitude, neutral attitude and favorable attitude, wherein we have numbered unfavorable attitude as 0, 1, neutral attitude is 0, 2 and favorable attitude is 0, 3. Means it is an scaling is an extension of measurement in the form of 1, 2, 3, wherein we are trying to measure attitude towards Big Bazaar is called as scaling. I suppose this brings clarification on what is a difference between measurement and scaling. Moving forward, let us try to understand what are the types of measurement scales. There are four types of measurement scales: nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. Moving forward, let us try to understand the basic differentiation between all the types of scales. Nominal is nothing but numbers assigned to runners. Here, I would like to explain primary scales of measurement with the help of participants participants involved in a race of 800 meters on athletic ground. Suppose there are 5 participants and they are allotted jerseys with numbers 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. The jerseys are given irrespective of who the runners are, just numbers are assigned to them. That is called as nominal numbers. Means if I tell 5 participants to stand randomly on any of the lane of 800-meter track, I am trying to assign numbers, that is called as nominal scale. The race started. I analyzed the first position, second position and third position depending upon who finished the race first, second or third. That is what is called as ordinal numbers. Third is interval. Interval is nothing but I have tried to measure performance of the participants on a rating scale of 0 to 10. The person who finished the race first, finished the race second and finished the race third were measured or rated by the audience or the officials on a scale of 0 to 10. That is what is called as interval scale. The last but not the least is ratio scale. It is time to finish in second. I have tried to conclude that of the 5 participants, I recorded the timings of first 3 participants, in which the first place clocked 13.4, second 14.1 and third was at 15.2 seconds for completion of the race. That is what is called as ratio scale. Depending upon number of items. Further, the scales are classified as single item scale and multiple item scale. So it would be clear further what is a single item scale and what is called as a multiple item scale. If you have only one item which measures the construct, that case it is called as single item scale. What does it mean? Suppose the construct is satisfaction with current job and I frame a question: how satisfied are you with your current job? With very dissatisfied, neutral, satisfied and very satisfied on 5-point scale. Now there are many other aspects of job which needs to be analyzed when you're measuring the satisfaction of current job. Could be pay, work environment, rules and regulation, security of job, communication with seniors. But here, the construct current job is measured only on the parameter that is taken into with respect to five parameters. Other aspects are not been considered. So here it is called as single item scale. So what is a multiple item scale? If you look at multiple item scale, there are many items that play a role in framing the underlying construct the researcher is trying to measure. Like, how satisfied are you with the pay you are getting on the current job? Similarly, how satisfied are you with the rules and regulation of your organization? Here, we have more than one item by which we are trying to analyze satisfaction of the individual towards the job and other parameters of satisfaction at job. So that is what makes us understand, hope we understand what is the difference between a single item scale and a multiple item scale. A step forward, let us try to understand what is the difference or what is the classification of scaling techniques. If you look at the classification, scaling techniques are classified into comparative skills and non-comparative skills. If you look at the diagram, below comparative scale, it is further classified into paired comparison, rank order, constant sum, and QSort and other procedures. In case of non-comparative scaling, it is categorized into continuous scaling and itemized rating scales. Itemized rating scales are further categorized into Likert, Semantic Differential, and Step. Further, let us try to understand the first part on the left hand side on the screen, that what are the comparative scales, where they are used, what is the difference between the scales which are measured in comparative scale. So let us try to look into what actually is a comparative scale. Direct comparison of stimulus objects with one another is comparative scale. For example, whether you prefer to have Coke or Pepsi, whether you prefer an antiseptic soap or a glycerin based soap. Comparative scale data must be interpreted in relative terms and have only ordinal or rank order properties. Important for us to analyze. Comparative scales have only ordinal or rank order properties. Further, let us try to understand what is the different types of comparative scales one by one. The first we'll try to understand is what is paired comparison scaling. It is in which a respondent is presented with two objects at a time and asked to select one object in the pair according to some criteria. So we are trying to have a paired comparison here, hence the name is paired comparison. For example, and it's comparing one student's performance with the other, comparing the second student performance with the third student, comparing what are the different brands of washing powders available, comparison of what are the different brands of ciprofloxacin available. We'll try to understand that is called as paired comparison method. To understand it much better, I have tried to put it into a very simple example. Let us try to understand what is a shampoo preferences using paired comparison. Here if you try to look at, I have 7 brands of shampoo in rows, vice versa 7 brands in case of rows. A very simple methodology is to be adopted. If you look at Pantene in the row and from Sunsilk in the column, there is written 1A. What does this mean? This means 1A is written in a particular box. It means that the brand in that column was preferred over the brand in corresponding row. Means here, if you look at 1A, in the column you have Sunsilk and in the row you have Pantene. What does it mean? The brand which is preferred is the brand in the column. Means Sunsilk is preferred over Pantene. Sunsilk, if you yes, Sunsilk is preferred over Pantene. Am I with you with the example? How brand was preferred? And zero means that the raw brand was preferred over. Means if I want to see a comparison of Chic and Sunsilk, I have written 0. Means here Sunsilk was not preferred but Chic was preferred. And in number 1a, Sunsilk is preferred, Pantene is not preferred. In short, when you prefer a brand in column, it is written as 1, and when you prefer brand in a row, it is written as 0. And at the end, if you look at the end of the row, you have a column which is called as number of times. Add on number of ones return. 1 plus 1 plus 1 3 in first. If you look at 3, the number of times the brand was preferred is obtaining by summing the first in each column. Means here Sunsilk is preferred 3 times. Now from this we can easily try to analyze which is the most preferred brand. If you look at highest number is point number 4, from which we can analyze that the Chick is the most preferred brand from different pair of shampoo available. That is what we can use with in the case of paired comparison. I suppose the rating is to be understood: 0 for row, 1 for column. Number of times is to be summed in each column, and we need to find out which is the highest number and look at the brand which is the preferred brand from the group of brands available. That is what we need to understand. Moving forward, let us try to understand second type, which is called as rank order scaling. As the name, rank is there. Respondents are presented with several objects simultaneously, asked to order or rank them according to some criteria. Furthermore, rank order scaling also results in ordinal data. To make us understand better, let us try to look into an example. Here, instructions given are: rank the various brands of toothpaste in order of preferences. Begin by picking up out of the one brand that you like the most, assign it number 1. Then find the second most preferred brand, assign it number 2. Continue this and the least preferred brand should be assigned a rank of 7. Condition here is no two brands should receive the same rank number. The criteria of preference is entirely up to you. There is no right, wrong answer. Just try to be consistent. Let us try to look into if this is what are the brands available. There are 7 brands given. And as per rank order scaling, I just need to write 1 for the brand which you prefer the most, and simultaneously 7 to the brand which is least preferred. The condition remains the same, that we should not repeat the rank. And when you give all the 7 rank, it will give you an idea about preference of an individual towards various brands of toothpaste. This is in simple methodology which is adopted for rank order scaling. Moving forward, let us try to understand a concept in case of comparative scaling, a type of comparative scaling which we called as rank order scaling for better understanding in a form of example. Similarly, the same example, we need to find out preference of the consumer towards soft drinks. There are 7 brands of soft drinks mentioned. What an individual or respondent is like to do is he needs to give the ranking and he needs to put it as 1 to 7. If none of the drink is lying, he will be forced to give a rank. You need to, nothing can be kept uh, unaddressed. You need to mention ranking for all the brands. This is used to measure performance. That is what we need to put across. The next type of scaling is called as constant sum scaling. The word which is very important to understand the concept is sum. Means respondents allocate a constant sum of units such as 100 points to attributes of a product to reflect their importance. If attribute is unimportant, the respondent assigns it 0 points. But if an attribute is twice as some other attribute, it receives twice as many points. The sum of all points is 100. Hence, the name of the scale, constant sum scaling. Further clarification with the help of example is, if you look at importance of bathing soap attributes, what I have done is there are different attributes and I have requested three different segments to give the sum. If you look at segment number 1, there is 53 given to a price, while in case of segment 2, cleaning powder is given 60, and highest in case of the third segment, if you look at, is fragrance, is moisturizing 20. If you look at all the segments, the sum of points given is 100. You need to give point or marks to every criteria. You cannot keep any criteria blank, and the total of that particular in a column will come to 100. That is what we need to understand, or as an example of constant sum scaling. If you want to put across, let us try to understand constant scale ranking for different schools. There are different schools given. For example, DPS, Modern School, Mothers International, IPJ, DA Public School, Lakshmi Public School, Tagore International. Almost 7 schools are given. Now what is happening? I may ask parents to give points to all the school, but the condition would be the total of all the schools would be 100. Depending upon various factors, the parent would give points to various school with some coming to 100, which will help me to analyze which is the school with the highest point and which is the school with the lowest point. It will help me to know which is the most preferred school by the students or parents in a particular locality or particular area. The last technique we'd like to understand is called as QSort technique. Here there are very large number of objects and we need to discriminate these objects quickly. So what I need to do is I follow two methods. A rank order procedure is used in which objects are sorted into different piles based on similarity with respect to certain criteria. Like if you have 60 students, some of the students opt for marketing, finance, HR. Here, three piles have been created with preference towards a particular specialization. That is what is an example of Q sort technique. Just a recap of the first part. Dear students, we tried to analyze scaling techniques in which we preferred first part as comparative scales, wherein we tried to analyze what is paired comparison. Remember what is paired? 0 1, 1 for column, 0 for row, and then sum is calculated and we can easily find out which is the most preferred in case of comparative comparison. Second is rank order, where we have tried to give the rank and try to find out the best gets the first rank and the worst gets the last rank. Constant sum, the scores are given so that the number is achieved at the end, which would have 100. That is what we need to put across. QSort is nothing but piling on the basis of certain criteria, which makes large number of objects classified very easily. It is called as QSort technique. Moving forward, let us try to understand the second type of scaling technique, which is called as non-comparative scaling technique. In the previous, as the name was comparison, means more than one brand, one attribute was being studied. As non-comparative, we need to understand that here respondents evaluate only one object at a time. Non-comparative scaling techniques are or scales are also referred as monadic scales, and it consists of two different types of scales which are called as continuous and itemized rating scale. Let us try to understand what do you mean by continuous rating scale and what do you mean by itemized rating scale. From the picture, it would be very clear with respect to a continuous rating scale, which is also called as graphic rating scale. Here, The respondent is asked to tick the preference on a graph. A graph is given. If you look at diagram 1 at the uppermost part, there are two variables given, least preferred and most preferred, with 1 and 7 given. Limitation, if you put a tick mark again, if you ask somebody to give first tick mark and ask them to give the response again, you will see there could be a variation seen. That is what is a problem in case of graphic rating skills. More precisely, one more basic problem is seen is coding and tabulation of data becomes very tedious. You may have different response coming up in a different way, and then coding and its tabulation would be different. You can further have the formats like a smiling face coming up also with the same context, wherein respondent is asked to give the preference, and in third case it would be much easier, third and second case much easier to identify what is the rating being given by the student. That is what we need to put across in case. Then let us try to understand the second. If this is called as a continuous rating scale, what is called as itemized rating scale? Here, the respondents are provided with a scale that has number or brief description associated with each category. The categories are ordered in terms of scale position, and the respondents are required to select the specified category that best describes the object being rated. The commonly used items rating scales are the Likert, Semantic, Differential, and Staple scales. Let us try to understand one by one what those are. If you look at the first Likert scale, it is a multiple item agreement and disagreement 5-point scale. If you look at the column which have five statements, five words written after the statement, strongly disagree, neither agree nor disagree, agree and strongly agree means if I move from left to right, I am moving from disagreement to agreement, and the statements are written at the bottom. Here we are going to calculate the value on the basis of summated scores. Scores of the individual items can be added to produce a total score of the respondent. That is what we need to put across. Generally, it is used as the Likert scale is generally used to measure the image of the company, and they are classified into two types, which is called as favorable statements and unfavorable statement, and we try to take the opinion. Similarly, there is second type of scale which is called as semantic differential scale. If you look at the diagram first, we can clearly distinct that in case of Likert scale, it started with serial number, statement, and 5-point scales were written. Here, if you look at, there are 2 points given, and in between those 2 points, there is a scale given. That is what is called as a graphical representation or a pictorial representation of a differential scale. Respondents is required to each attitude or object by numbering of 5 or 7-point scale. The scale is bounded each end by a bipolar adjective or phrases. What does it mean? If you look at the diagram picture, point number 1, it has two bipolar adjective or phrases. First, in the left hand side is makes quality product, and on the right hand side is does not make quality products. These two are bipolar, the left and right. There are two statements given, and between these two statements you are going to have a scale. This scale can be 5-point, there would be 5 boxes, or it would be 7-point. Generally here everything is fine, but the problem is created when you want to identify and utilize the bipolar adjective. That becomes a problem. Moving forward, let us try to understand what is the next type of scale, which is called as staple scale. Try to look at what is the difference in a form of diagram now. Here, if you look at the staple scale, it uses only one adjective, and it is used to measure the direction and intensity of attitude. If you look at quality of food, above which +1 to +5 is written, and below quality of food it is connoted by -1 to -5. If you look at the scale generally has 10 categories, which involves number -5, 2 plus 5 without a neutral point means there is no zero return. It is presented in a vertical format. Positive higher means if it is +5, it describes it more favorably. Quality of food and quality of services for restaurant to be evaluated are very well explained by the staple scale. This is what we need to understand with respect to measurement and scaling. Thank you.